Hello, friends. The 1,100th day of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. Russian troops have advanced in the village of Bilohorivka in the Luhansk region for the first time in a long time. A Ukrainian fighter with the call sign Muchnoy and Russian telegram channels recently stated that the Ukrainian Armed Forces have completely lost this village. The Russians have completely established control over Bilohorivka, having pushed through the last lines of defense. Russian flags are located west and northwest of the quarry, writes Muchnoy. According to the Ukrainian military telegram channel Deep State, the village has been partially captured. Fierce fighting for Bilohorivka has lasted since the Russians captured almost the entire territory of the Luhansk region in the summer of 2022. The village has since been held by the Ukrainian Armed Forces, where the Russians suffered heavy losses when trying to storm it, since Bilohorivka was in a good position for defense. Recently, the Russians have almost eliminated the bag to the southwest and west of Kurakhove. As follows from the Deep State map, they captured the entire territory in the triangle Andriivka Daksny Ulakli. All three villages are essentially lost as well. Kostiantynopil is currently being stormed west of Ulakli. In the coming days, the Ukrainian Armed Forces will have to leave the village of Kostiantynopil, reported a serviceman with the call sign Muchnoy. The enemy is attacking very hard in Kostiantynopil, trying to knock us out of the western part. Things are really bad. In the coming days we will have to retreat to Bahatar, wrote Muchnoy. Also, according to him, the Russians were able to enter the village of Rozlyv, but it is not yet known whether they were able to gain a foothold there. Fighting in the vicinity of Olksivka continues. If the enemy presses and takes control of the village, Bahatar will find itself in an awkward position. The only thing that can be done is to quickly retreat to the west, writes Muchnoy. Ukrainian resources report the continuation of attacks by the Ukrainian Armed Forces to the southwest of Pokrovsk. It is lying around about the displacement of Russians from Kotliny. Russian military telegram channels write that the battles for the village are still ongoing. In the Pishchany area, the Russians are conducting an offensive, trying to displace Ukrainian forces from the northern outskirts. A similar situation is observed in Lysivka, where battles are underway for the northwestern part of the settlement. At the same time, a concentration of Ukrainian armed forces is recorded in the Pokrovsk-Myrnohrad area, which may indicate the preparation of a local offensive operation by the Ukrainian army. In the Toretsk direction, according to footage from drones and reports from fighters of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, the defense forces managed to dislodge Russian troops from a number of positions in Krimsky, adjacent to the northern outskirts of Toretsk. Assault units penetrated into the enemy positions by about 760 meters, where they were able to take a couple of buildings. The enemy is trying to smoke us out. Street fighting continues, the fighters report. The Russians continue to advance from the direction of Velyka Novosilka, where the offensive of Russian forces is most intense and new territories are captured almost daily. The fighting has already approached the villages of Berlitsky, Dnipro and Privilny. The fighter Muchnoy writes that the situation here is very difficult. According to him, in this direction, there is everything to contain the enemy. The only thing that is missing is manpower that could at least slow him down a little. The telegram channel Deep State writes that in this direction, the main target for the Russians is the village of Komar, through which the road to Bahatar passes, and in general, the logistics to the defense forces group in the Andriivka area. The situation is getting more complicated for the Ukrainian Armed Forces in the Kursk region. After the enemy captured Sverdlikovo, Deep State wrote that the Russians are actively hunting for logistics that are going to the Kursk region, actively carrying out fire damage to everything moving in that direction. The most dangerous section is Pisarivka-Yunakivka, from where multiple videos of enemy attacks by FPV drones and artillery have already been published, the Telegram channel specified. For the Russians, an obvious and already familiar goal arises: logistics. Unfortunately, they have achieved success in fire control and are actively trying to achieve this physically, moving from the western part of the Kursk bridgehead. This is already having unpleasant consequences and may not turn out very well in the future, Deep State wrote earlier. I note that Sverdlikovo is less than 10 kilometers from the highway to Sudzha, the main supply route for the Ukrainian Armed Forces on the Kursk bridgehead, and from the outskirts of Sudzha itself. This allows the Russians to hit the highway with both drones and other weapons, which, as Deep State wrote, is what is happening. Meanwhile, the day before yesterday, the Russians announced that they had captured the village of Pokrovsk in the northern part of the Ukrainian bridgehead and published a video with their flag in the center of the village. They also said that their troops had captured the village of Orlovka on the same northern ledge and entered Novaya Sorochina. Yesterday, the Russian Defense Ministry announced that they had taken control of Orlovka and Pokrovsk. The Ukrainian military telegram channel Deep State confirms the advance of the Russian army in this area, but has not yet fully indicated the settlements under enemy control. Fighting also continues in Lebedevka and its environs. In the area of the Nikolsky farm, clashes are being recorded on its southern outskirts. Near Kirillovka, the Russians are advancing in the forests. By the way, Reuters, citing South Korean intelligence, reported today that North Korea has sent new reinforcements to the Kursk region. The size of the reinforcements is not specified. Friends, I understand that the duration of events is becoming less relevant for you, but for me, the situation is only getting worse. Those who have been with me for a long time know that preparing reports on this channel has become my main job, and I have no other job for obvious reasons. Lately, the channel has had few views, so I ask for your help. If you have the opportunity to support me with a cup of coffee, I will be very grateful. Thank you very much for understanding, and see you in the next video.